Good mornings. We're super happy to have you on our webinar today. And we're looking forward to sharing some really interesting ways of marketing on Facebook. And we're actually going to have two different points of view. I know a couple of people have asked me whether this is a good approach to have if you're a B2B type company. And I'm going to start with that first because I know that we have a lot of businesses and a lot of companies that work with other businesses. So that is actually something that I think is really important that you can have as a takeaway from today's webinar. And of course, we will have a whole webinar series that we're actually planning throughout this year with different kinds of topics. So keep an eye out for any type of interesting topics that we have planned and sign up.
Yeah, and so thank you for everyone who might have already been at the inbound webinar that we did a few weeks ago. And obviously, feel free to keep providing feedback on the topics as well.
So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we do and who we are. I'm Terry Tadiosian, and I'm the founding partner of Socialfix Media. And my background is in computer science and engineering. I did a ton of work in the corporate world, in a law firm actually, throughout my career before starting this company. And my job here now that I've been here for 10 years is to focus on different types of technology, deploying digital solutions and applications for our clients. And I look forward to getting to know everybody here.
And I'm Ken. I'm a founding partner also of Socialfix, and I have a little more of a traditional background in marketing. I also have a history in serial entrepreneurship. And what I tend to bring to the table is a little more of the strategy. I look to make sure that everything we do digitally follows the best rules and practices of what your sales team would already be doing. And we apply that to the digital process. So let's take your website, for example. We would want to make sure that your website funnels to the sales process just like you would if it was an actual salesperson running the website for you. So a large part of what we do is integrating traditional practices with the digital age, and I think it tends to pull off a pretty high returning product.
And Marianne's actually, she's webinar bombing us today. She's has joined us as well to help answer your questions live and help tweet throughout the webinar. So tell us a little bit about what you do, Marianne.
Hi, everyone. So I specialize in social media marketing. That's basically all that I do for Socialfix. I help create posts and content and gain followers for your business.
She's our in-house magician. Now, a little bit about our core methodology in case any of you are unfamiliar with what our guiding principles are when we start any type of campaign, and you know what type of questions we look to answer and what type of elements we look to have in a really good campaign. The first goal is obviously to build a really good sales machine. So this would be in the form of a really good website, and we'll go through that a little bit more in the next few slides. The next goal of any type of initiative that we take on is to attract the right audience. So, you know, if you're looking to target a specific demographic on any type of channel, it can be Facebook, it could be LinkedIn, it could be anywhere. We want to make sure that we're speaking to those particular people. Number 3, speak the right language when we're talking to the right audience. And what that means in our world is that in your website or your communication or your assets or your materials need to be not literally in the right language in terms of, you know, Spanish or English, but they need to also be on the right device. So when somebody's looking at your website on a mobile screen, we want to make sure that the website is translating or snapping to a particular grid that a mobile device will recognize. So that's really important, not just for the user experience and for how the client or potential client perceives your business, but also for search optimization and getting better rankings and things like that. Number 4, so the fourth pillar of our guiding principles is to make sure that we are speaking to the right potential client and looking to convert them into a client. So we're looking for some type of action to be completed. So depending on what your sales pipeline is, or what the steps before a sale is closed, for different businesses, it's different things. We're looking to help our clients convert prospects and make them potential leads or potential clients. So that could be downloading an ebook, downloading a white paper, filling out a contact form, asking a question, inquiring about a particular product, or making a purchase. And then the 5th pillar to our guiding principles is to measure, analyze, and listen to the results. So anytime we put out a new campaign out there, we are always measuring and we're always comparing based on the data that we have collected in the past to make sure that we're going in the right direction. So just like any other experiment, and most people don't realize, but marketing is an experiment most of the time. We're always looking to improve upon the results that we got from the last experiment. So most of the time we'll have a hypothesis and we'll say, okay, this is what we tried last month and these are the results that we received. So this month we are going to change a couple of variables, or we're going to improve, or we're going to go extra hard in a particular direction, and then see how that compares to our historic data. And we listen to the results. So the result can be the client feedback. It could be the sales numbers, the revenue that was generated, or general awareness of the company and the business and its products. So there's different ways to measure different factors based on what the goal is of each campaign. You might have a campaign that is purely revenue driven. So your most important key factor of measurement can be, did you make any sales? Did revenue improve? Do we have repeat sales from existing clients? And so on.
It could also be growing your brand recognition. It doesn't have to be tangible ROI types of things. A lot of campaigns, especially for well-established companies, are to increase awareness of their brand. If you are a B2B company and you have a long sales cycle, you may actually be doing split testing to see if your sales cycle time has reduced and getting people to close. So there's lots of different things here that go into the measuring and the analysis of your process. But whether you're a B2B or a B2C type of company, if you follow a methodology like this, it gives you a much greater way to run people through a channel and to measure the results and try the iterative process.
And then obviously we iterate each of the steps over and over again until we believe that we have a good campaign. So I wanted to give you some ideas on what B2B marketers are doing in this space. Because I think there's, we get a lot of questions and there is some misperception on whether Facebook is a good platform for B2B. So based on some polls that we've done and based on some research that we've pulled out, we're comfortable with these numbers. So 93% of B2B marketers are using social marketing for their business. And 85% of those B2B marketers are reporting that the number one benefit of social marketing is more business exposure. So they may not necessarily be looking at Facebook as a revenue driver if you're in B2B, but it's definitely a great lead generator or a lead nurturer. Out of those 93%, 74% report that they have increased traffic to their website, and they have eventually gotten or increased their business sales or their business transactions. So let's dive in. So what is social media, Ken? Do you want to tell us?
To me, most simply stated, social media it's about engaging yourself, your company, and your brand with the public in a relationship that's an extension of their life and not just yours. Old traditional marketing was push marketing. It was taking advertisements and shoving them down your throats, trying to force you to view a message the way that an advertiser or a company wanted you to see their message. Social media has kind of flipped all that on its head, and the fact that people are trending away from traditional marketing engagements and being more based on relationships with their brands, it really gives a great opportunity for companies, whether it's B2B or B2C, to speak directly to their clients and customers in a relationship-based way rather than a here's my product and service, try it out. It's the difference between like an A-level marketing or networking person and somebody who's a seasoned networking person. If you go out to a networking meeting in your first year, it's kind of like the word advertising came from. I go to a meeting, I say, this is what I do, and I'm looking for somebody to engage with my business, but people kind of run away from that. What we look to do is establish a good relationship and rapport both with our clients, our prospective clients, and even more importantly, the friends and family of our prospective clients.
And so the way that I define social media is a little bit different. So in my world, social media in my world is a more techie perspective. So social media used to be it used to be called so many different things. Back in the day, it was AOL, it was You've Got Mail, it was the Google search algorithm. It was email. It was all of those things. And now we're just calling it a different thing. So even going back maybe 3 or 4 years ago, social media was called search engine optimization. And that was the hottest thing on the internet that incited a lot of speculation and a lot of chats and conversations on how to manipulate Google. Today, social media it's just the internet. It's how the internet works. It can also be called word of mouth advertising at the speed of light. It's not something that's new, and it's not something that we have just invented or discovered. It's something that's been around from the beginning of time. It's just changed. So technology has given us the ability to do the same things that we used to do before, just do it faster.
Well, and in more mass scale. So if you were to go back to when our grandparents were in business, they would be going on a person-to-person basis, and traditional sales reps would be out in the field hitting people on a one-on-one basis, or maybe one on several. This is the shift that allows that same sales entity of a company to speak to potentially millions of people all in one breath, and that's where the paradigm shift has changed. It's come full circle back to word of mouth and back to personal relationships, but on a mass scale.
Exactly. And if you speak to any marketing gurus out there, or anyone who is really visible in the public eye, that is a marketing type of brain trust, what they're calling it is that this is the biggest shift in how we consume media. I mean, we can give you stat after stat on what are the ratios and what are the percentages on how much time people spend online watching YouTube videos or any type of video, how much time they spend on Facebook and so on. I mean, it's astronomical. And what it has done is that it has shifted the power. The customers are now holding all of the cards where, before, let's say in traditional media, back in the day, we were fed everything we needed to know just by watching TV. And today we have the power to choose what we're looking for. It's also a new way to communicate for businesses and individuals. Facebook is a great platform for businesses and for individual expression. And we're calling it the death of push marketing.
Well, and on the flip side of that, ability to express is also the need to be transparent. So we have a greater transparency as companies, and we're held to the voice of one individual consumer on the other end of our marketing efforts. So it's one of the things that gets a lot of companies a little bit scared of social media, is that they worry about the negative feedback and the negative pushback that can come in from one individual or a handful of individuals who have a negative experience. But that stuff is going to happen whether you participate or not. So the key is to be as transparent in your process as possible, and always try and address any of the issues that come up along the way. So it's an excellent opportunity to improve yourself, improve your company. And if you keep your ear to the ground, you can get a lot of valuable information about what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong from your audience.
How many of you watch TV with your laptop in front of you? And how many of you watch TV with your phone in your hand? And how many of you watch with a mobile device, a tablet, and a desktop? I can imagine from previous conversations that we've had about this, is that quite a few, including myself, are watching TV with at least 2 devices. So our attention span has been completely divided, and we are no longer paying attention to TV as much as we used to.
Yeah, I mean, TV is becoming the other thing that we do in front of the TV these days. We tend to spend more time on all of our devices than we do even watching, unless, of course, it's Game of Thrones or Walking Dead or something that is worth watching.
Exactly. So Joette says depends on how engaging the TV is. Absolutely. Yeah, there are some TV shows where we have to shut all of our devices off. I agree. So let's dive into Facebook, which is what this webinar is specifically about. And I can give you some quick stats on the Facebook phenomenon. So there are at least over 1 billion active monthly users, and each one of them spends about 12.1 minutes on Facebook. Most of them are women, so there's 54% to 46% split between men and women, and 80% like to connect with brands. So, if you're a B2B company and let's say you're in the consulting space, you are a brand on Facebook that is providing information to your potential clients. A lot of them will like to receive information or content that helps them with their business. And apparently there's 350 million people that suffer from Facebook addiction. I can think of a lot of worse things to be addicted to, but this is definitely a phenomenon that is occurring definitely with the younger millennial generation, who are considered to be digital natives, which means that life did not exist for them without a mobile device. So they're very connected.
Yeah, now a lot of the concerns that we also hear about Facebook is that it's another fad. It's another, one of these websites like MySpace that's going to come and disappear. But the thing we should probably keep in mind about Facebook is that while it's starting to dim in terms of capturing the younger audience, the 18 to 25-year-olds, the people who have actively engaged with Facebook, there's an entire generation from probably about 25 to, I don't know, there are a lot of grandparents are on Facebook these days. That generation will carry probably Facebook all the way to the end of, their usability with a computer. So probably till the time they're off on a golf course doing more important things than status updating. So that's a really important thing. So it's something to know that this is probably one of those phenomenons that will stick around for an entire generation. And I think these guys are pretty savvy, and they're going to figure out a way to capture the young audience again. If not through acquiring the other companies who are taking their audience. So you definitely want to stay plugged into Facebook.
So something that we definitely promote to all of our clients is, if you want to be relevant and you want to be in business by 2020, not doing social media is really not an option. Innovation does not wait for anybody. So if you feel that you might be a little bit behind the times, and a lot of industrial companies, manufacturing companies, wholesale companies don't necessarily see the value of being involved on social media yet, but we are seeing a lot of them perking up and moving forward. Um, it's important. I mean, it's not something that is going to wait for anybody. So how do we start? What's the first thing to do when you're looking to build a successful social media strategy and a successful social media plan? Here are the steps that we take in order to get you started. So the first thing you need is a very good content management system based website. What does that mean? So a CMS means that you can control your website through an administrator interface. Basically, your users and your visitors see one version of the website, and you can control all of the content that you see through the administrator, through the back end of the site. You should be able to change everything. You should be able to change graphics. You should be able to add blogs. You should be able to change or edit the content and revise things that may no longer be relevant. So that's really important. The next step is an industry relevant blog. So let's say, and I'm going to pick on somebody that we work with. Let's say that you are in the wholesale food business, and your direct clients and the people that you're looking to work with are restaurants and hotels and bakeries within, let's say, the tri-state area. So what would those people or those businesses, what would they appreciate, or what would they like to see as in terms of content and information from a vendor, from a supplier that they work with? So for us, from our perspective, what we think an entrepreneur in the restaurant business, for example, he or she would want to know, what will help them be more successful? How can they cut costs? How could they start a business in New York? That's a pretty tough business. Restaurants business are very difficult. What makes a successful restaurant? What can be a differentiator for a company like that? So the content that you can produce if you're in this particular space, and that's a B2B space, is to give them opportunities and to give them insights, or to help them be more successful within their industry. Number 3 is to make sure that your website has lead generating capabilities. So what does that mean? In my world, that means that your website can communicate with its user base, and that when our user base asks a question, we're saving that information. We're generating a lead and we're saving it. Now, once we generate that lead and it goes through the funnel, our sales funnel, we want to make sure that we're communicating with them correctly. We are giving them information that they're looking for. We're helping our clients be more successful. And ultimately, in every business, and I cannot tell you how many businesses we work with, that is the core of any business, whether it's a doctor's office or it's a Fortune 500. At the end of the day, we need to make our clients successful at what they do, no matter what it is that we do. We could be a restaurant. We want to make people feel good about what they're eating. We could be a bar. We could be a nightclub. It could be anything. We're all providing some type of service, whether we think so or not. We're providing a feeling, an emotion. We're making people feel good. Even if we're selling a product online, it could be a baby blanket that somebody's purchasing in a rush because they forgot to send a gift to their friend who just had a baby. It's a very simple thing. It's just a blanket. But ultimately, what we're providing is an emotional connection and making our clients look good, feel good, and be better people or better businesses. And of course, number 4, social media integration. So there's a lot of debates, and even internally inside of Socialfix, we have our own opinions on how far we want to integrate social media into a website. And I can give you both points of view. My point of view is that my whole purpose in business and in my world of work is to bring you traffic. It's to bring you traffic to your website and make sure that I'm capturing it and I'm doing the right things with that information. So if I'm going out to Facebook and I'm going out to Twitter and LinkedIn and every other social media space that we have available right now, and I'm producing content and I'm linking to my website, and I'm trying to bring people over to my space, to my location, because I have control there. I don't have 100,000 different things competing with my potential clients' attention. I have a great sales funnel put in place. I have conversion metrics turned on. I have analytics running. I know what's going on there. Why would I want to chase my people out right back into social media?
I'll tell you why.
Tell us.
I would say the rare exception to the rule of keeping people on your website and keeping them in your sales funnel is when your main purpose is to establish brand, to establish culture, and to establish long-term loyalty that may be part of your interactive loyalty. So if I was a local restaurant that had a good following, or a club that had a good following, or a larger brand that had a good following, I might not find it so bad to push people towards my social media channel to engage in it, because obviously that's increasing my brand recognition with the friends and family and the extensions of their friends and family. So there is a case to be made for pushing people out to the social media channels. But if you're a smaller company, and most of the people that are probably on this call are from smaller companies or mid-sized companies that are B2B or B2C that are trying to make sales, when you're in the sales process, you want to drive them to your number one sales generator, which should be your website, to a direct call, to a fill out a form, or to request more information. But in the case of people that need to do branding, then it's not such a bad thing to get them engaged in your culture online in the social space.
I agree with that, but once I catch them and we bring them to the website, I'd like to interact on our own turf, and that's what I'm finding that works really well for a lot of our clients and a lot of the different industries that we work with. So here's a quick chart of the circle of the social media life. For example, we start at your website, and you can have a really good content management system. And some of the ones that are really good that we work with are WordPress, Drupal, Volusion, Magento. Really depends on what your need is. So if you're looking for a transactional based website that is heavy, that has a heavy credit card processing needs, I would not necessarily go with WordPress. WordPress would be a great platform if you have 1 or 2 products and you can use PayPal because that is PCI compliant. And we can potentially do another webinar on PCI compliance that can go on for a while. So I'm just going to cover it really briefly because we have some really good slides for you guys for Facebook. So good content management system, make sure that you are search engine optimized and all of your title tags, your meta tags, your meta descriptions have unique keywords or keyword phrases that you're looking to target. How do you do keyword research? Well, a few years ago, that used to be really easy. There were tools like Word Tracker and Google Analytics that could help you. However, Google has gotten very, very, very smart, and they are no longer even allowing you to see how people are accessing your website, even through your analytics. So there's a lot of intelligent guessing and a lot of intelligent work and almost spy work you have to do where you're not only looking at your competitors' title tags and how they're ranking, but you also need to look at, what their strategy is, reverse engineering, where they're getting their profile links from, and things like that. But it's very important for your website to have the capability to have unique title tags, unique meta tags, and just generally be able to optimize it. There's a lot of things you can do right out of the back end. You don't need to be able to have to do server-side coding to optimize your website. And then obviously set up all of your social media profiles, make sure that they're matching your brand message and they look good, and they're communicating with your audience. Of course, content. Right? There is no website and no social channels and no search engines without content. So to be completely transparent, I personally feel like, we can build a website, we can optimize it, and we can create your social channels with our eyes closed. That could be a very quick and painless type of process. We can even throw in a couple of videos. But the content is what drives all of it. It's the message, it's the language, it's the differentiator. That's where it will take the most amount of time when you're rebranding, is to come up with the right content. And then, of course, share it on all the different platforms that we have.
And it has to be strong, compelling content as well, because in a lot of websites, your blog pages and your content-specific pages become your landing pages for search engines now. So you want to make sure that you don't have a high bounce rate because you have sloppy content or content that doesn't hit the mark with what they were searching for. So it's really important to be very tight with your content.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, measure and repeat. So no site should go live, or no site should be on the internet without Google Analytics. It's free. It doesn't cost anything even later on, and it gives you priceless information. We have found things in Google Analytics for clients that have changed their revenue by millions of dollars, just by finding a bug or an issue or a high bounce rate page. High bounce rate page is something that's unusually high compared to the average of the entire site. So a good website that's very well done can have somewhere between 30 to 40% bounce rate. And what that means is that people search you out online. So let's say they go and they Google, wooden oak for patio furniture, and they find your product, but it's not necessarily exactly what they're looking for, so they exit right out. So they go right back into Google and they click on the next result. That is considered a bounce. Now, when you find a page on your site that has a 90% bounce rate and it has high traffic numbers, that's something that could raise an eyebrow, and you should take a look at that a little bit deeper and find out why are so many people coming to this page and they're coming right back out. It could be that there's a bug. It could be that there's some type of a problem. It could be that the page is dead. It could be that you're not providing the right information. It could be that the product's discontinued. So if the product is discontinued, then, an option would be to redirect the page either to another product or to give people some ideas on is there another upgrade to this product? Is there a new version, or is there something like that? So, this is one of the first steps we do when we go through a website audit for an existing site, let's say, for example. And a lot of times you will find absolutely priceless information in your analytics. So don't let your site go without analytics. It's one of my pet peeves. I can't help it. Not to have analytics because it's free. And then, of course, when you're tweaking, you measure and you repeat, and you measure and you repeat. So that's the general life cycle of a social media campaign. Let's talk a little bit about the different approaches for the topic of this webinar, which was, okay, so I've got all this going on, I've got it all set up right, it's working, I've got my website, I have my SEO is done, I've got all of these things going on. But what the hell is Facebook retargeting and Facebook remarketing? I hear that a lot. What is it? So there are two different approaches to this particular tactic. So let's go over that a little bit. Number one, you can collect leads off of Facebook, right? You can take those leads, bring them to your site, get them to sign up on a landing page that's specific to your offer, and then you can retarget them again on Facebook if they didn't close. Approach number two is that you can take your existing client list and you can plug it into Facebook and ask Facebook, hey Facebook, do you recognize any of my people on my list? Can you tell me general percentages of how many of these you know exist in your database? And like we talked about before, there are over 1 billion people on Facebook. So Facebook goes through that data and then it pops out a report and it says, I've recognized on average 40% of your client base.
On an anonymous basis. It doesn't tell you who it remembers, and it's searching the email addresses, so it doesn't know exactly who it was looking. You don't know exactly who it found, but it'll tell you about how many that it actually did find.
Right. So those are the two ways that you can market on Facebook. Just if I simplified it down to that, one would be to collect leads off of Facebook and get them to your website and then try and convert them. And two would be to give Facebook your client list and see if you can find your people on Facebook. Let's focus on the step where we give our client list to Facebook and Facebook creates a psychographic profile of our ideal client. And the psychographic profile incorporates a lot of different elements and a lot of different data points, such as geographic location, their annual salary, gender, family status, interests, and things like that. So we do this exercise in Power Editor. And I'm going to show you some screenshots on how to actually get to Power Editor. So when you log into your Facebook page and you have a business page, for example, that you're managing, if you click on the upper right-hand corner, there's a little arrow and it brings down the drop down and you click on Manage Ads. Once you click on Manage Ads, it gives you a screen where you can now select Power Editor. So this particular tool allows you to do a couple of different things. You can obviously run straightforward Facebook ads, which can be anywhere from up to $5 a day to unlimited amounts per day to try and drive traffic to your site, to your product, to your offer, to anything. So I'm on Manage Ads and I'm going to click on Power Editor, which is where the arrow is pointing. And once I'm in Power Editor, it's going to show me all of the different campaigns that I might have running at the moment. And we want to click on Audiences because we are going to do two things. We're going to create a custom audience, which means that we're going to import our prospect list or client list. And I said before client list, but it doesn't have to be your clients. It could be any list that you're looking. It could be, you went to a trade show and you got 3,000 leads at the trade show. They're not all your clients, but they're potential leads that you can sell to them
As long
if
as
they
they
were at
fit
the
the
trade show.
profile, as long as they generally fit the profile of the type of customer or client you might want to attract.
Exactly. So we're going to click on audiences. And once we're in that screen, Facebook will give us two options. We can create a custom audience, or we can create a lookalike audience. And the lookalike audience is where my mind gets blown every time we do this. But let's start with the custom audience. So I'm going to give you a use case, a scenario. So we went to a trade show. It was a 3-day trade show. We collected 3,000 leads for a client of ours, and we're coming back. And we don't necessarily want our client to call 3,000 leads. It's just not efficient. It's not something they want to do. They don't want to spend the time to call 3,000 leads that may or may not be necessarily specifically interested in their product. So we go into custom audiences, and we click on create a custom audience. It needs to be an Excel spreadsheet, I believe a CSV file with particular rows. I think you can have an email field, a phone number field, obviously a Facebook user ID field that you may or may not have. So you upload your Excel spreadsheet in here.
Yeah, so it's going to take you through the steps of identifying your audience, and once you do get the audience together, it's going to populate the fields for you, and you're going to have an opportunity to run ads at that audience. Now, once again, you won't know specifically who the people are that you're serving ads to, but it's all going to be based on the psychographic content of the audience you already have.
I would say, depending on how big your list is, it takes about 24 hours for the data to come back. So let's say you had 3,000 people, or maybe even less if you have a small list like that. It'll take a couple of hours, and then they'll come back and they'll tell you, out of 3,000 people, we found 2,500. And these are the stats on that particular group. What would you like to do with them? So at that point, you can say, I want to run an ad against this particular custom audience. And I want to refer to the fact that we met them at the trade show. And, we will create a graphic for the client that says, nice meeting you, or nice, thanks for stopping by our booth, or something like that, to that effect. Or, we can provide an article or an ebook or something that is relevant to that particular audience. And then run an ad against that custom audience that we just created that knows us directly. So it's not just random people on Facebook that have no bearing or no idea or no clue what it is that we do. It's not like in the old days where, you would have, 15 and 16-year-old kids playing video games seeing your ad. Facebook has gotten a lot more mature in the last couple of years. This particular Power Editor tool was only available to Fortune 500 and maybe even Fortune 100 brands, where they could specifically target in this particular way. Let's say that you did great with custom audiences. You experimented. Your ads are getting a lot of click-throughs. You're getting a lot of traffic. You're engaging your leads that you have no other way of doing it other than through email. And let's face it, how many people here read junk mail? I mean, how many junk mails do we even get per day? It's astronomical. Most email is not opened. Most junk mail gets filtered out into the spam folder, and they will probably never see it. But they are checking their Facebook feeds, and people are checking their LinkedIn feeds, and they are chatting on Twitter and things like that. So it's a great way to sort of surprise your audience in a new way and engage with them in a new way that they're not necessarily expecting. So that's pretty much the gist of how you create a custom audience. Now, let's say that you want to double your potential client list. That's what we call a lookalike audience. So what this function does is it will take the psychographic profile of your custom audience, and it will go out there into the Facebook database and find people that match your client psychographic profile or your ideal client, for example. So if you click on that button, it will take you to a pop-up screen and it will ask you for the source. So you can choose the custom audience that you have imported earlier. And then you can choose a country to target. So you can say, find me this exact psychographic profile, but only find it in Italy, for example, if you're opening up a new branch in Italy and you're looking to do a little bit of branding. This would be the way to do it. This is usually one of those things that have really blown my mind as a marketer in terms of what it is that we can do nowadays with information and with data. And retargeting is seen in a lot of different ways. It's not just on Facebook. You can now see that pretty much all over the web. And any company that signs up to be an ad displayer basically can run, there's Google retargeting as well. You could run this type of initiative or this type of campaign through Google as well. It doesn't have to be only through Facebook. But I think people are a little bit more used to Google ads and Google banners and things like that, and they ignore them a little bit easier. So this is a little bit different. It opens up different opportunities, and it's an interesting experiment for just about any business, even if you are in the B2B space. There's really not anything I can think of that cannot benefit from having a presence on Facebook. And we have experimented with this over and over and over again, from obviously e-commerce to online personalities to comedians to industrial companies to wholesalers to just about anything, retail, obviously. So I know what you guys are thinking, right? You're thinking, all right, Terry, you're telling me all this stuff and, you're telling me I have to be on Facebook, but I'm in the financial space and I can't disclose this type of information on Facebook. And, I'm a heavily regulated industry. So what the heck do I do? So the answer to that, if you're in financial, if you're in the legal space, in the health space, obviously you have to be HIPAA compliant. If you're in the insurance space, in the mortgage space, and any of those particular industries are obviously not prone to go out and do heavy marketing on Facebook. There is a way to still leverage these powerful platforms without necessarily not being compliant. So some of the well-kept secrets of social media is that you have to always be talking. You have to always be publishing content, and it's a self-expression platform, and so on and so on. Well, that's not necessarily true, right? We can get a lot of benefits out of just listening to people asking for referrals, listening to people talk about the problems that they're experiencing within your industry. Potentially reaching out to those people and offering help or offering advice. So that's a great way to still integrate into social media without stepping over your compliance issues. Another way is to educate your employees and leverage your staff. This is now, I think a lot of companies are waking up to this particular phenomenon that your employees are your clients, your employees are your customers, and they're your best evangelists. And they can definitely help you online and through social media, through word of mouth, if they are awakened to how to do that. There's companies we work with that have hundreds of employees, but they have no internal communications plan set forward. So that's, I think, a huge opportunity and a huge potential on how to leverage your employees. We have a question here from Linda. How do I transfer my personal Facebook audience to my business Facebook page? Okay, so that is something that's actually fairly easy to do. The first step is that there is a form you have to fill out with Facebook and request them to take your personal page and transform it into a business page, and all of your contacts will come through into your business page. And if you do have a business, always make sure that you're running it as a business page and not as your personal page. Linda, if you send me your email address, I can send you a link to a resource that can walk you step by step on how to do that. It's really easy, actually.
And that would be to Terry, Terry, at socialfix.com.
Another way for the financial, legal, insurance, and health space is to conduct crisis communication drills. This is something that a lot of companies are under heat for, and they're getting attacked online. It's good to conduct the test drills, definitely. And obviously create useful content. Even if you are in the financial space, that doesn't mean that you can't syndicate other people's content or produce your own content. You don't necessarily have to engage in sales tactics.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the mortgage space, let's say, although it's not necessarily a heavy compliance space, let's say it's personal finance and you're protecting your Series 7 licenses, etc. You can be giving people advice and curating content around their home market about things that are good to protect your assets within your home, but not necessarily giving them the financial advice that would get you in trouble. So there's lots of ways to get around the compliance. You just need to be very well aware of what your compliance issues are very specifically, and then look for good examples in your space. You can go out and find other professionals who are doing a good job and try and model yourself after the content calendars that they're creating.
Can I also get help in Facebook transformation? You mean rebranding, or I guess rebranding your Facebook page? I think that's what that means. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the things that you can do to rebrand your Facebook page is obviously change the logo image, change the banner image, really share and use, put content out on your page that people would be interested in. And then pay attention and see who's liking the page, who is sharing the page, how many people are actually engaged, how many people are seeing your page. There's analytics built into Facebook that are really helpful in terms of knowing what type of content you need to produce. And we have a bunch of other questions
and Hal,
here.
I think your question might have been how to change it from a personal to a company page. So I think I just see you sent your email in as well. So we'll send you an email with that resource link as well.
How often do you think that people should change their banners on Facebook?
I mean, we normally do it once a week. So we change clients' banners every week. For our own page, we change them maybe once a month. It really depends on how active you are and how engaged your client base is. A question that we get all the time, and I actually see it right now, somebody is asking the question is, what should I spend the most time on? Should I build my audience? Should I try and get more fans? Or should I focus on getting better content? And the answer to that question is depends, right? So if you are a brand new company that has 0 fans and you are just starting out, I would not, my opinion is that I wouldn't post content more than once or twice a week. I would focus all of my energy and all of my initiatives on gaining an audience. So whether that means that I'm going to run a custom audience campaign and have people that are already in my database like me on Facebook so that I can build up my fan base, that's what I'm going to do. If that means that I'm going to run a few ads on Facebook and, run a campaign for a month to try and grow my fan base, then that's where I'm going to spend and focus my time and energy. Content is great when you have somebody there to actually share it, like it, and engage with it. Content is the make it or break it in this type of digital world, but we do also still need the audience. So it's the chicken and the egg type of question. It's a tricky one. It's a strategic type of initiative. So absolutely, if you have 0 fans, grow your fan base. If you have 500,000 fans already engaged and ready and willing to read and consume your content that resonates with them, then focus on content. Absolutely. Stella is asking, are there any similar tools like Facebook Editor on Facebook and Twitter?
The Power Editor.
Editor. So Twitter is just recently starting to mature. They just recently, actually, I believe this year, rolled out Twitter ads. And I don't believe they have a Power Editor yet. I'm sure they're probably in the process of creating something that will help with analytics and very highly targeted campaigns. But we have not seen anything like that from Twitter or actually any other type of platform. And I just think it's a matter of time. I think that as these platforms are maturing, you're going to see a lot more of this. Something that we are looking forward to ruining for everybody is Instagram. Instagram has become the place to go for everybody who's looking to get away from people like us that are creating all these ads and bothering people in their feed.
Well, I think they're starting to get ads now too.
But Instagram is going to have to monetize in some way as well. So the newer platforms is where most of the millennials and the younger generation are being attracted to because of that reason. But now, as soon as it becomes a viable platform with a huge audience that marketers can target, eventually they will also have that. If you look back on Pinterest, Pinterest is the #1 e-commerce revenue driver. I mean, can you believe that? Out of all of the social channels. And they recently also rolled out an ad-based model where you can advertise your products on Pinterest.
Well, Pinterest follows one of our golden rules of marketing to begin with, is that it's striking people on a purely emotional stage. It's visual. It's allowing people to see things in a very descriptive but absolutely visual way. So they're connecting without the logic center being involved in the process. Like, we're not screwing it up with a lot of words that are going to influence us away from the emotional feeling. So I think that's why Pinterest in a lot of ways has generated a lot of revenue and return on investment.
Yeah, I mean, they're all following this model. So we're hoping to ruin all the platforms. Just like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk. He is one of my
guru idols,
luminaries in this space. He says that marketers ruin everything. And it's so true. We do. We ruin everything great, everything good, just by looking for ways to target. And the better we target, the better the experience. So, if I'm interested in jet skis and I'm looking to buy jet skis, I really don't mind if you show me an ad that shows me jet skis, no matter where I am, because I'm going to click on that and I'm interested in that and I'm
Or
doing
safety
research.
vests or whatever goes along with
Or
it, as long as it's
exactly.
within target range.
Exactly. But if I'm into jet skis and you're showing me, a garden hose, then I'm not going to be happy with that. So, the better we get at targeting people for what they're looking for, the more personalized our advertising becomes, the more effective it will be. We have another question from Doris. Where on Facebook do I find a capture page and get their information? So Doris, there is really no way to build that on Facebook. There are some plugins that you can use to integrate into your Facebook pages. There's little tabs that you can click on inside of your Facebook profile, and you can create what's called a gated page, where people have to insert their information and then they can continue on to the next phase. But I think they went away with that. Facebook, I think, has removed the ability to gate your page in order to collect information. So the way that we get around that now, so let's say you want to run a campaign that is a lead generator campaign, and you have a wonderful ebook or a how-to video, maybe, that you're looking to promote online in order to get people to sign up and ask for the ebook, for example. You create an ad on Facebook utilizing whatever type of audience you're looking for. It could be custom audience, lookalike audience. It could be just general audience. It could be just a regular ad through the ad manager that has a very specific targeted factors put into it. And you can say in the ad, click here to download my ebook, and then you take them to a landing page on your own website. And that's where they will fill out their information. They wouldn't necessarily do that on a Facebook.
And it gives you a much better ability to track the user experience. So for every campaign that you're running, whether it's a Google ad or Facebook ad, or even just a promotion that you're running through your regular Facebook page that's not even ad driven, directing things to landing pages on your website gives you an excellent way to track the specific result. And instead of driving them to your home page, it's always great to have targeted landing pages, because then the consumer knows, or the potential client would know exactly where they're landing, and the information that they get when they get to that page is on point for what they came for. You just take them right close to the sale point or capture point.
And I'm going to leave you guys with 5 different keys or golden rules for social media marketing. Number 1, don't take yourself too seriously. So have fun with it. Post type of content that people will enjoy.
Well, remember, it's a relationship. And if you want to have good relationships, you have to be a fun person to be around. So it's not always about promoting your business or service. Most of the time, it's about creating a good relationship and being a good resource, and being there in assistance to your friends.
Number 2, create engaging, shareable content that resonates with your audience. So anything that will help people feel connected to you, and make them your evangelists. So, it could be obviously it has to be something that helps them get better in their business or in their personal life, or, whatever it is that matters most to them, depending on what your industry is. Number 3, always add a strong call to action. So everybody knows what to do on an e-commerce site, right? You're there to shop. But if you don't guide me through the process, then I might get lost in the shopping cart. So I need a really strong path to how I get to the finish line. And this is especially tricky in B2B type of industries because it's not always clear. Number 4, always add value. So whether your business is in the photography space or the financial planning space, adding value to people's lives, and this goes back to engaging content. Adding value to people's lives not only builds your authority, but again, it makes you more likable. And the fact that you're sharing your knowledge is definitely something that people look for. Number 5, be authentic and transparent. So even in a B2B situation, I know that there's a lot of questions on B2B. Being authentic and transparent, even in a crisis situation, will win you a lot of votes in the social space. Number 6, be aware of current events. So there's so many case studies we could go through that we don't necessarily have time for today, of companies doing things to try and piggyback on current events that are really frowned upon. Don't do that, but do try and integrate into things that are currently happening, like the Olympics or news. There's a lot of discussion today on all kinds of things going on. Potentially stay away from politics and religion, obviously. And then the very last one, I'll leave you with that, and then we're out of time, is fire bullets and then fire cannonballs. So the way that we see that, and I'll say it again for anybody who's unfamiliar with this approach. First, fire bullets, and then fire cannonballs. And these are marketing bullets, marketing cannonballs. And the way that we think about that is, before you invest 100% into any particular niche, any particular channel, any tactic, test, and test again. And then when you're sure that you have the answer, then test it again. Once you have a clear path, and once you know that your hypothetical model or your hypothesis is going to be profitable, then fire up the cannonballs. So in this particular situation, what does that mean? So let's say I have a theory, I know how I'm going to sell my services, and I know how I'm going to be profitable, but I'm only going to run this experiment on a micro scale. So instead of investing $10,000 a day in Facebook ads or whatever kind of ads, I'm only going to try and invest 500, so I can manage the outcome, I can manage the result, and I can figure out if this is something viable for me. And on that note, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Our handle is Socialfix Media, and we look forward to seeing you again. I believe we're running another webinar in September, and Marian will send you the topic. And please feel free to reach out to me or Ken or Marian. My email address is Terry, Terry, @socialfix.com. Ken is Ken at socialfix.com, and Marian is Marion at socialfix.com. Thanks, guys, so much, and see you next time.
Thanks for hanging in there. Have
Bye,
a great day.
everyone.